Hello, everyone. It's Auth Astro Chick. I wanted to wish you a happy new moon. The new moon is tomorrow, October 21st. It's a Libra new moon at the end of Libra. So we know this is a sign that we're coming into Scorpio season soon. But this new moon is a chance to be still and to contemplate the new that is coming into our lives. The balsamic moon is allowing us to let go of certain things. And I think with this lunation, this new moon having squares to both Jupiter and Pluto, there could be things we're letting go of once have confronted these issues. Squares are hard, they're not bad. It just means that you got to change something. And Jupiter squaring the sun and the moon is rather positive, to be honest with you, because it gives us a motivation in our bodies and in our inner world as well to check up on our well-being, whether that's spiritually or physically, because the sun and the moon are the inner and outer parts of our lives, right? So Jupiter can accentuate that energy for us, and it's very positive. It's the greater benefic. So, and it's in its exaltation of Cancer. So there's a lot of positivity with Jupiter. The square to Pluto is intense because we're facing or confronting truths, or we're having to once we admit to something, then we might have to change the way we do things. And oftentimes, I think people deny truths for several reasons, right? Sometimes it's because they don't want to change their daily lives, right? And we know that that's not a good excuse. That's just continuing to stay in, a toxic situation or what have you, or sitting with a truth that you're not living type of situation. So it's important right now, if there's any hidden truth that has come to you, any darkness, even emotional darkness that you're having, it's a chance to integrate that into your life and deal with it and process it, right? Square is the most stimulating aspect in astrology. So you have to do something with this energy, right? And the same thing with Jupiter. You have to do something with that energy. You have to go to the doctor. You have to check up on your belief systems. You have to look at your heart. Is there anything that you need to mend inside of yourself, whether it's, through therapy or through, because we have all the Libra energies pointing to like togetherness. So it's a great time to talk to people, right? This is an air elemental sign, Libra. And so it's important that we remember that we're not alone, right? We oftentimes feel very isolated, and that no one, because we live a very independent, separate type of lifestyle. And we have a lot of screens in front of us, and we're not very present in some situations. But you can look around, like right now, especially in America, and people are coming together. People are organizing and they are joining. There are more places to talk to other people. I feel a sense of community is developing among the social life of people, which is part of that future orientation that we're going into, being in the age of air, right? We're going to have more communal types of responses. We're going to have more communal organization. That's just part of the future, okay? And so we've been seeing that a little in small ways. And part of that energy is, we could say, the mystery of the Yod, the finger of God, which is its configuration where you have two planets in sextile to one another, and those would be Uranus and Neptune at 0 degrees. Uranus is 0 degrees of Gemini, and Neptune is 0 degrees of Aries, and they're moving in a retrograde. So they're going to go back to the signs beforehand and finish up business, right? But this lunation is highlighting the sextile that they have to one another at 0 degrees, which is important because those are the threshold degrees of the new times. Because once those planets cross that threshold of 0 degrees of their signs, that's the new time, baby. Like the integration time will be over with and we'll be in the future, and it'll be very different than it was before. So what does that look like to us, as a world, as a society, as a country? It's going to be different, but this is the lesson that we have to take from that situation. Is the finger of God is pointing to the sun and the moon, okay, this new moon together at 28 degrees of Libra. So that is the integration point. The apex is like what we have to do, right? And what is the message of the 28 degrees of Libra? I looked up the Sabian. If you like Sabian symbols, or if you want to study like deeper mysteries of astrology and the zodiac and such, you should check out James Burgess. He has a wonderfully soothing grandpa vibe. He has a YouTube called Sabian Mysteries. He also has a website. He's an awesome guide to Sabian Mysteries. But 2829 Libra. Because remember, folks, 0 is the first degree in astrology. Okay? This is called bridging the gap between the known and the unknown. We inherit knowledge from our ancestors and pass it to future generations, contributing to humanity's ongoing growth. Our awareness of linking past and future gives us a sense of belonging to something greater and helps protect us against loneliness and isolation. This is a lesson of togetherness, right? This Sabian speaks to reaching out to others and not and knowing that we are all connected in some way and that we are stronger together. I mean, we all need help from time to time, right? I know this. I'm a relational person. I love my relationships. I rely on my relationships with other people. So I know what it's like. I don't know what it's like to be lonely, but I've imagined it, and it's not pleasant, right? So we need to remember that if we're going into this future time full of air, full of communication, full of community, that we have to be present. We have to engage our sun and our moon, the sun and the moon, the inner and outer, parts of our lives. All right. In the sign of Libra, under the rulership of Venus, who is in her power right now in the sign of Libra, which is an air sign. It has a lot of centralized energy towards communicating with others, talking to others, relating to other people. And the fact that the squares to Jupiter and Pluto, in their own, it's like you've got some work to do, right? And they're also a hint. Next year, they will oppose one another, Jupiter and Pluto. And that will be another examination of power structures and the growth of darkness, right? So it's almost like a warning to say, well, look at those dark things now, right? Because when Jupiter opposes Pluto next June, that could be pretty intense if you ignore the stuff now that you shouldn't, okay? And it is a lot of work to admit to something, or to, admit to the truth, right, of a situation, and then to say, well, something's got to change. Then you have to go to the effort of changing it and doing things. You got to change your life. You got to move. You got to get a different job. You got to start over again. Like sometimes that happens, but the longer you deny the truth, I'm just saying next year when Jupiter opposes Pluto, that's a big time when any truths that are hidden will come out in a very large, very exaggerated type of way. So it's a warning. We could process these things in our life if we actually process them, like if we do the work that we need to do. So just consider that as you move into the dark season, because we have retrogrades occurring right now with the outer planets, but they will go direct, like end of November, beginning of December. Saturn and Neptune will go direct. And then Pluto is direct right now. Pluto actually sat at the first degree of Aquarius forever, right? Just like lingering and penetrating the intensity of the generational futuristic type of stuff that's coming towards us. I mean, look at AI. A lot of things, like I can't even go down that rabbit hole. All right. We already know what I'm talking about. So it's important to connect with other people on a real level, on a physical level, but on an intellectual level, on a communal type of level. And so we have to remember that we are the bridge, okay? Or at least my generation, I believe Gen X is a bridge between the old and the young. And I see this in a lot of personal ways in my own life, because my grandmother passed last year and so did my dad. And my children are buying homes and they're getting married and they're going to start their families. So I am in like an in between time as well. And I resonate with that like transitional threshold that we're going through. And it can be scary, but we have to remember that there are other people. Everyone is going through this change to get, we're all going through it in different ways, but don't isolate yourself. And it'll make it easier. The transition will be easier if we have other people to talk to, if we share our views, if we share our love and our effort and our charity and our, people get together and do wonderful, amazing things. Okay. So we have to remember that there's a strength in that. The Venus, as ruler, being in opposition to Neptune, also is part of that hidden truth type of stuff where we're confronting illusions in our life and trying to, if we're going through the pain of letting go of something in a transition, we will gain some kind of knowledge from that experience. We will have experienced and learned something from that. So there's a value in all of this, all of the turmoil or confrontation or conflict that we have to deal with in order to, this is for our own benefit. We have to see it that way. So I know it's hard work, but everybody, I have faith that we can get through the hardest of times. We've been through a lot harder, but just be a beacon of light for others, right? And remember, we're all in this together. Have a happy new moon in Libra, and I'll catch y'all later. Bye.